All right, today we're going to talk about our double object pronouns. Before we talk about double object pronouns, we're going to do a quick review of direct and indirect object pronouns because they both have something to do with this double business. Okay, so direct object pronouns, remember direct objects receive the action of a verb in a sentence. They answer the question whom or what about the verb. And a direct object can be a noun or a pronoun. Okay? So, in English, we would say Louisa is buying the blouse. So the blouse is what she's buying. So that automatically is our direct object. If I already have been talking about the blouse and I want to just shorten it and just say it, so we have Louisa is buying it, that is our direct object pronoun. Okay? So in Spanish, it looks like this. Luisa compra la blusa. So Louisa is buying the blouse. But remember, in Spanish, you have to put the direct object pronoun in front of the conjugated verb. So it looks like this, Luisa la compra. Okay? So direct object pronouns are used to replace direct object nouns. Okay, so just like here, instead of having la blusa, la blusa, la blusa, we'll just put la. Okay, just like we do in English. It. All right, so to review the direct object pronouns, our first is lo, okay, and then we have la, and those both mean it, okay? Then we have los for them, and las for them. Remember, the lo and los are masculine, and the la and las are feminine. All right, indirect object pronouns. So in both English and in Spanish, indirect objects are nouns or pronouns that tell to whom or for whom the action takes place in a sentence. Remember, these are 99% of the time they are people, and they will start with the word a or para and then a person's name. Okay, that's how you can find a an indirect object in the sentence. So we have Aunt Lola sends us gifts. So Tia Lola nos manda regalos, okay? So to whom does she send us, or to whom does she send gifts? To us, right? So us is our indirect object pronoun, just like it mirrors in Spanish, nos. However, notice that the nos comes before manda, so it comes before the conjugated verb. Okay, and to review indirect object pronouns, if I wanted to say to me or for me, I would say me. To you, and this is an informal you, would be te. To you formal, to him or to her would be le. To us would be nos. To you all informal, os, so that's the vosotros form. And then to you all formal and them is les. All right, now, double object pronouns. This is where it gets a little tricky. So, what happens if you want to have both direct and indirect object pronouns in the same sentence? So, the indirect object pronoun is going to go first, and they both are going to go in front of the conjugated verb. So, we're going to take a look at what that looks like. Okay? So, if I wanted to say, we bought them for you, the them is the direct object. For you is indirect object. So we're going to replace those in Spanish with te for you. And then them would be los. So the indirect object comes first, te coming first, then los will follow. Okay? So te is our indirect object, and our direct object is los. Okay? Another example. The waiter gave them to me. To me is our indirect object pronoun, okay? Them is our direct object, so we're going to put me in front of los, okay, since me is the indirect object, and los is the direct object, okay? All right, a student came up with this next thing. So, in order to remember the order, for him, this made sense. So, snakes inject deadly venom. So first you're going to have your subject. Okay, we're going to look at the second example. So el mesero is the subject. The indirect object, which is me in this case, in that example. The direct object, which is los. Okay, and then the verb, which is dio. All right. Remember that when a conjugated verb appears with an infinitive or an NDO form, so ando or yendo form, you have two choices. You can put the pronouns before the conjugated verb, or you can attach them to the infinitive or the NDO form, or ando or yendo form. Either way, the sentences mean the same thing. So we're going to look at this first sentence here. Me los vas a comprar. So what that means is you are going, so vas a, to buy, comprar, them for me. Okay, so that's me and los. So everything's in the same order. So we have our indirect object pronoun first, then we have our direct object pronoun. Okay, but since we have an infinitive, comprar, in the sentence, we have another option. Okay, so we can put them attached to the end. Now, notice that my indirect object pronoun comes first still, and my direct object pronoun still comes after, okay? However, we've attached them to the end of comprar. That's our infinitive, okay? You cannot attach these to the end of a conjugated verb, so you can't attach them to vas in this case. But this sentence means exactly the same thing, okay? The only note that you have to make is that you have to add an accent mark over the A, the E, or the I of your infinitive, okay, if you attach them to the end. So this sounds like this. Vas a comprármelos. The accent mark is just added to maintain pronunciation. All right. With the ando and yendo form, I'm going to show you an example of this. So, me los estás comprando. Estás is our conjugated verb. We're going to put the indirect object first, then our direct object pronoun after. Okay, so you are buying them for me. Okay, just normal. However, we can also attach this to the end. So we can say, estás comprándomelos. So you are buying them for me. However, note again, the indirect object pronoun comes first, still, and the direct object pronoun follows. If you attach these to the end of your ando or yendo, you are going to put the accent mark over the A or the E. Okay? The A or the E. They mean exactly the same thing. You just have you have options for placement. Okay? All right. This last part. There's a special rule for verbs with two pronouns when both are the third person. So that means that they're either le and les, or los, or I'm sorry, lo, la, los, or las. Okay, so that's the third person. You have to change the indirect object pronoun to se. Okay? So, reminder, you cannot lay low. That's a good way to remember this. You cannot lay low. So I have this sentence here. Le pedí una servilleta al mesero. So I asked the waiter for a napkin. Okay? Le is our indirect object. Servilleta is our direct object. Okay? However, they're both in the third person. Okay? Because we're going to replace una servilleta with la. Okay? This is what the sentence would look like, right? So we have our indirect object pronoun first. We have le. And then we have our direct object pronoun after le, which is la, okay? And then our conjugated verb pedí, all right? I asked him for it. Now, Spanish-speaking people do not like when two L's are next to each other. For whatever reason, I have no idea, they just don't like it, okay? So, you are actually going to change the le to se. So it becomes se la pedí. You will change this le to se only if you have a lo, la, los, or las in the direct object pronoun slot. Okay? Also, say if there were multiple meseros. So if I said, les pedí una servilleta a los meseros. And then my sentence that I was looking at was, les la pedí. You would still change the les to say. You wouldn't make that plural. So it would just be se la pedí still. Okay?